Like fucking drunk dinosaurs.
Welcome to another episode of Let's Rewatch, the show where we all get together, watch a movie that at least one of us loved as a child and at least one of us has never seen, and we talk about it and we see if it still holds up to a modern viewing audience. As always, we recommend you watch the movie along with us, but we're going to spend a few minutes talking about it before we watch the movie. So let's go around the room. I'm Nick, as always.
I'm Ash.
I'm Talia.
I'm Sam.
I'm Bret.
Am I in this?
And that's Bryce. All right, so Talia is our guest star this week. Talia is an online writer. I don't know. I wouldn't say blogger. A social media comedian. Is that the right way to phrase it?
Like a weird journalist thing that no parents can be proud of.
What do you do, Talia? Well, Dad.
I tell dick jokes for money, and I can't say the word dick.
So it doesn't really work out well.
Yeah, I don't get the money because I can't tell the joke.
A very narrow audience.
But I try.
So you're a freelance contributor for crack.com?
That's right.
Okay. And you've got a very popular Tumblr?
No.
No?
I have a Tumblr, but it is not
very popular.
It is not popular.
Tumblr that at least
It
I
exists. And that's what's important.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Talia is very funny in person and on the internet, and we're hoping she'll be funny and insightful here.
No pressure.
But I won't. So
For the movie that we're watching this week, which is Total Recall, the original 1990 Total Recall, not the remake with Colin Farrell. This
Did you just say Toter Recall?
Total
It's very tough.
Recall.
This is the 1990 version.
South Park
Hayao
version.
Miyazaki's
Totoro
Totoro Recall.
Yes, Totoro Recall. So it's not really worth, I think, going into the entire, history of Schwarzenegger's career at this point. Everybody remembers what Schwarzenegger is doing, your Predators, your Kindergarten Cops, stuff like that. But I think it's more interesting to think about, Paul Verhoeven, the director of this film, and the other movies that he did, which are very much like this. These are, hyper violent, very bloody movies, but they're all very, very cynical, that are these sharp indictments of, modern society and broadcast news and commercialism and stuff like that. I'm a huge fan of RoboCop. And a few years later, we had Starship Troopers, which I think is very similar in tone to what you get in Total Recall. But more interesting, I think, is to think about where this story came from. It was a Philip K. Dick story. Philip K. Dick, of course, known for some very important sci-fi stories. This was the second adaptation of a Philip K. Dick story. The first was a very famous adaptation. It was Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which of course was made into Blade Runner. This was the second one. You've seen several other Philip K. Dick stories: Paycheck, Scanner Darkly, Adjustment Bureau, Minority Report. So he's done a lot of stuff that turned into some really good movies and some kind of mediocre movies. So we'll figure out whether this is one of the good adaptations or one of the mediocre adaptations. Now, Bret, you brought this to the table. You've seen it. I assume you like it. What do you think you're going to? How do you think you're going to feel?
So I remember watching this as a kid, and it was the holiday movie. Every Thanksgiving, we'd either watch The Substitute, or we'd watch Total Recall. And
this is the Mark Harmon movie, Substitute. No, that's Summer School.
It's that guy that goes to the school and is like fucking like punking on the kids hella hard. I'll bring it
Typical
in.
family Thanksgiving movie.
We'll do it again. We'll watch The Substitute. It'll be fantastic. But yeah, I have fond memories of
So you
this.
think you're going to like this?
Are you sure you don't just have fond memories of Arnold Schwarzenegger?
I mean, I have many fond memories of the Schwartz. But yeah, no, I think this is going to be pretty good.
Sam, you have not seen the movie, correct?
Nope, I have not.
What do you think you're going to feel about this?
I think I'm going to feel like it's a very inappropriate movie for children. And I am very shocked that you watched this as a child, but then again, very not shocked because
Everything about you is explained.
It made our childhood so much more happy.
although I do have to admit, it is a much better holiday film than Borat, which was my family's Christmas movie of choice one year.
All right, Talia, you have not seen the movie?
Right.
So what do you think? Do you have any predictions?
I like really absurd, over the top kind of, just like those like older movies from the 80s or 90s that are just kind of ridiculous because they're trying so hard to be serious. Those crack me up and I love them. So I'll probably like it if it's like that.
Okay. Ash, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know anything about this movie except that Arnold Schwarzenegger is in it and that Bret has been telling me for years to see it. But I'm sort of on the same vein as you, Talia, that I think it's going to be horribly ridiculous, but in a good way.
All right, Bryce, what do you think?
This is the movie with Robin Williams and the toy factory, and the toys come to life and start killing people. And they have to recall all of them, right? I haven't seen that movie, but it looks good.
All right. I think I'm still going to love this movie. I think it's going to hold out completely. I have such vivid memories of it being just such a fantastic movie. I think it's going to work. So if you have not seen Total Recall, then you should take this opportunity to pause the podcast, watch the movie, and come back once you finish the movie, and we'll tell you what we thought. Call Recall for the memory of a lifetime.
For the memory of a lifetime, recall, recall, recall.
Recall.
I'm so sorry.
So we've just finished watching Total Recall. I hope you have as well. And I'm anxious.
We just woke up at Recall.
So I'm anxious to see, was it all a dream?
Are you opening that to anybody?
Isn't that such a profound question? Aren't you haunted by...
Can you start with something simpler like, what'd you think?
They didn't spin a top at the end, so it was obviously real.
Obviously.
But they did have a very a solar flare right into the camera lens, which makes you think it's all about to wake up.
I didn't notice that. Is that an actual thing, or are you just joking?
No, it did.
I believe they call
there's
that a
this
fade
big
to
lens.
white.
No, I did fade to white, but first it was a J.J. Abrams flare to suggest it was very dreamy.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you, Nick.
So,
Aww. Well, if it was all a dream, it's kind of fucked up because he killed his wife, and then he's gonna wake up and have this memory of how he killed his wife, and every day he's gonna be like, "I killed you,"
which is great. Like they're implanting this whole dream is like, you're gonna love this, Doug. I don't want to spoil the details for you, but
you're gonna love it.
Yeah, Arnold's just gonna wake up and be like, "Right, let's go to Saturn instead."
You're right.
So here's an easy question. Does Total Recall live up to a modern viewing standard?
No.
No,
absolutely not.
You're not into these visual effects?
If you were trying to make this a very serious and intense movie in our time, it's not that. Mm-hmm. It's absurd and ridiculous, and like I said before, like the intensity is too much, and so you end up laughing at it. Mm-hmm. Unless the intent is to sort of joke up violence, kind of in the way that Starship Troopers did,
which I think is a big part of it.
But it's Schwarzenegger.
There's definitely like that part, the thing that sticks out as the most, like the dumbest joke that they just crammed in there is that stupid robot taxi cab that's just like, explodes at the end.
I cannot watch that scene. Like every now and then you see something in a movie where they only shot that for the trailer. Obviously that line, I hope you enjoyed the ride, that's for the trailer. That was the only point of that shot.
So was it in the trailer?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That was the trailer.
Kind of like what you're saying, that the absurdity is, and I'm going to make this comparison, and I don't think that this is a bad movie, but it kind of has the absurdity of Brazil. where it's
Like the country?
No, the movie Brazil, the Terry Gilliam movie Brazil.
You don't want to go to Brazil, you guys. Machine guns.
Where it's like it's futuristic, but there's something like so sort of like over the top and like, a little cheesy about it that doesn't feel real, as opposed to Blade Runner, which does the future really well and those sets are really believable. Yeah. And you see the exact same example of the exact same sort of town in Blade Runner done really well.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, if they wanted to actually set this in the future and everything like that, why was everyone dressed like they were from the 80s?
Like they were about to work out in a workout movie?
They tried so hard to make sure that it looked like everyone on set just got off of Saved by the Bell. Like Mr. Belding was going to come around the corner and yell at everyone to go back to class.
Looks more like a Madonna music video.
Yeah.
Ooh, or Janet Jackson, maybe.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see like what people think the future is going to be, and they've got this long view on some things and such a short view on things like the clothes people wear.
Yeah.
I love, everything is video phones, and the really high quality video phone in your car. You've got 2 screens.
Yeah. If anything, this movie taught me that you need 2 screens for everything, and that people don't know how to use guns.
Yeah,
that's pretty much.
Except for Arnold Schwarzenegger, headshot, boom, headshot, boom,
all over the place.
Yeah, if you compare to like Back to the Future 2, where they go forward into 2015 and they have holograms, which we have, and they have like hydrating microwaves and all these things. Like they actually really thought about like what would it be like just like 30 years from now or whatever.
They had some good predictions in Back to the Future too.
The only good prediction that Total Recall had was the fact that Schwarzenegger was like, oh, the center of Mars is filled with ice. They had no way of knowing that when this movie was made.
You're watching and you're going, oh, wow, the science is pretty solid on this. And I'm like, all right, let's give this 2 more minutes.
You are going to change your mind.
And then I yelled, what was it? This is unreasonable or something like that.
Oh, yeah, that was fantastic.
This is unrealistic. And I said, was anything in this movie realistic for you?
I thoroughly enjoyed when you said this is unrealistic.
What part was that at? I can't even remember.
That was like when they're like, it was made by aliens, and you're like, this is unrealistic.
Yeah, it was unrealistic. Like when they were exploding. No spoilers, but
they just watched it. Hopefully,
when the people were exploding, I mean, it came out like 30 years ago. Wait, no, 25. I'm not 30, but it came out when I was born. But
oh wow,
sorry everybody.
All right, we're gonna do. We're going to do a quick script revision here. You've got Arnold Schwarzenegger and Michael Ironside on the elevator. They slice off Michael Ironside's arms and he falls to his death. I'm putting 30 seconds on the clock. What does Arnold Schwarzenegger say?
Good fight. I have to hand it to you.
It slices and dices.
That's a strong handshake.
Oh.
Anybody else? What do we got?
Five.
He says, give the man a hand, and then claps the hands together.
I think that's the winner.
That's
the winner.
All right, we're going to take that one. Give the man a hand.
I can't do a Schwarzenegger.
I think there's, there's so many horrible things in this movie, but there's so many really great things. There's clearly like an interesting vision, an interesting twist on stuff. Like I could see you have to admit that the actual story behind all this ridiculousness is pretty interesting and twisting. And, as much as it's like, as an audience member, you're like, oh, was it a dream or not? I like the fact that the credits roll and they leave it up to your interpretation at the end. So I think there's a lot of like really great ideas in this movie. I think, perhaps if there was a better budget, or I don't know. I don't know what the deal was with the set design and the clothing design, but
to a much younger version of myself, that stuff was really deep, like this real psychological stuff. My favorite scene in the movie, which, if you're a fan of Community, and I don't know if you guys remember, they mimicked this scene in an episode of Community really well. The scene in the hotel where the doctor comes in and he says, you're still inside the dream. And he's trying to talk him out of it. And he gives him the red pill. And there was an episode of Community where John Hodgman was the psychiatrist trying to convince them that they were all in an insane asylum and they had dreamed Greendale. It was exactly the same scene. And now I can't watch that scene in Total Recall without thinking of John Hodgman.
That's funny.
And it's, it's a great, to me as, I don't know, 12 years old or however it was when I saw it, like, such a great scene.
Yeah, it was great. And Talia was totally like catching on to those details too, where she was like, why is he sweating then if he's not real?
And then it showed like the really intense droplet fall down his face.
And like the
that's
many
when Schwarzenegger
ridiculous
was
zooms.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Schwarzenegger was like, oh, this guy is sweating. Boom. Bullet to the head.
I was enjoying that because you're like, why? He can't trust him. He's sweating. I'm thinking she's as smart as Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
No, I was smarter.
You could be the governor.
I was smarter though because I noticed.
figured it out
I noticed
earlier.
the beads of sweat on his forehead, not the exaggerated
Schwarzenegger
bead
needed
of
the
sweat.
roll.
You didn't
He
need
needed
the
the full
close-up.
roll. He needed the close up and the roll. And I was on it, and then 30 seconds later, Schwarzenegger was like, "Oh, I must kill this man."
Nice. There you go.
to the chopper.
Good. It is really going back to your initial question though, Nick, on whether or not it's a dream. It is kind of though
Let's
interesting.
not take that question too seriously.
Well, I mean, they leave it up for interpretation, right?
Sure.
Wouldn't you agree? And
Sure.
so it is interesting that everything he asked for is delivered in the dream. So
Exactly, including, I don't know how to pronounce her name, or the character Melina was on the TV screen
Yeah.
before they did the implant.
yeah, exactly.
And
Like he had been dreaming about her, and then that's when he
that means she's
requested
real.
her. Like he had been seeing her for some reason. Like there's a lot of stuff they intentionally made it sort of confusing, so you have to rewatch it to catch those layers, and then they just don't answer those questions.
That was a pretty rad, like Edgar Wright kind of moment at the beginning, where he's just like, "Here's everything that's going to happen in the movie," as in his like description of what what memories are going to implant.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did thoroughly enjoy, like, they're having this emergency in the implant chair. So call the sales guy and get him down here.
Yeah, get him down here. He knows what to do.
Or like the FaceTime, like from directly behind the glass. Like,
Yeah.
Or the FaceTime when the person turned around in his spinning chair.
It was just the back of his head,
yeah.
and then
Very
someone said
dramatic.
something, and then he dramatically turned and made a comment.
yeah.
I'm going to
And then it
start
zoomed in.
FaceTiming people like that.
Honestly,
It's amazing.
I never FaceTime, but I'm going to do it like that.
I thoroughly love how you're all calling it FaceTime.
Face as if
basically
that's
what it is.
Yeah. Video chat.
They predicted Mars
Video
had
chat.
ice, and FaceTime would exist.
So
Just going with it.
Did the I haven't seen the remake. Did anyone see the remake, and was it
I have.
better?
It certainly was not better.
No.
There was some cool stuff in it. It was like a really good first quarter to the first half, and then it just kind of ran out of steam.
Yeah.
If you've ever heard of the space elevator, which is this theoretical form of transportation, no, not the space elevator, the gravity train. So they actually have the gravity train in that version of the movie. So it's not Earth and Mars, it's Australia and England. And there's been some nuclear war and the rest of the planet is scorched. So they have the gravity train from Australia to Britain. And that's cool, seeing a gravity train on screen. But, it had some good stuff. It wasn't the best movie.
Colin Farrell was better in his porn.
In his porn?
Than in that movie. You didn't know?
Is there
Oh.
porn in that movie?
No, he actually has a sex tape.
Oh.
Like Colin Farrell, the real person, has
The
a
real
real
person.
sex tape with another real person.
I would hope. With Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh God, that would be
The
amazing.
gruntingest sex tape.
Oh man.
Can you imagine if that's how Schwarzenegger came?
Oh, God. And his face just looked like the explodey face when he didn't have any oxygen.
Get ready for a surprise. So it was, I had to pull out my phone and look it up because I knew the mutant that had like half of his face covered was somebody I recognized.
Oh.
Breaking Bad fans, the mutant Tony in the bar was Hank Schrader from Breaking Bad.
Shut up. Really?
Yeah.
The guy whose face looks like a vagina
Yeah.
was Hank Schrader.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a nice way to talk about that actor, Talia, just because he looks like that all the time.
It's not a lie. Also, the very small person, the very small woman in the movie of Total Recall
little lady.
looks like Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. That's just a statement of fact.
Combined together to make one.
The best
Merged
performance of their career.
It really was.
I want to. I hope I can meet them someday and be like, "I loved you in Total Recall."
They'll just stare at you with really big eyes. I feel like they haven't spoken in like the last 15 years. Like that's the vibe that they give. Like whenever they go to awards events or anything like that, and they're on the red carpet and they take pictures, they're just staring. Like they're scared of everything.
I love that every now and then there's a little tease that they might come back for the Fuller House series that they're going to do on Netflix. We might get the Olsen twins for Fuller House.
I hope not. They scare me.
I'm actually pretty excited about Fuller House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a whole new family living in the
Bob
house, and the
Saget
Olsen
scares me
twins are
too.
just locked in that.
I don't know what it is. There's just something about that whole cast makes me generally
We
uncomfortable.
don't speak of them in the closet, in the attic, wherever they live now.
So clearly this movie doesn't hold up to modern filmmaking standards.
Yeah.
But we know that that's not always the gauge of whether it's a good and enjoyable movie. So that the question remains, Talia, did you enjoy it?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, hell yeah. This is so funny and so good and so ridiculous and wonderful. It's everything I hope for.
So completely fulfilled all of your hopes.
Yeah. You know, spiritually, mentally, sexually, everything. I'm fulfilled from this one movie.
Sam, what do you think?
I was pleasantly surprised. The writing was significantly better than I thought in terms of like the twists and everything.
Yeah, I have to agree.
That's an interesting point. Like if they shot this movie right now with no changes to the script.
Yeah.
I say minor changes in some of the dialogue. The dialogue is a little dated in terms of 80s-ness.
Yeah.
But
Screw you!
I'll be home in time for cornflakes.
Or relax, you'll live longer.
yeah,
This is a sixth grader.
Richter.
yeah. Or like calling the poor girl sleazy. Like nobody says sleazy anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, what
Anyway.
bring it
man
back.
goes, I would like a woman that's sleazy. Yeah. Yep. No.
Athletically
I know some
sleazy.
guys who would say that.
Really? Not just easy? Because easy I can understand, but sleazy?
Sleazy. What kind of guys do you hang out with?
Well, I'm not going to say
Sleazy?
their names on mic, but
Oh.
Slutty easy. Wait, that's like
Slutty
the
easy.
same-
Sleazy. Yeah.
Slut easy. Slut easy.
Sleazy.
Sleazy.
Easy.
you're just saying the same word over and
I
over.
know.
What's happening now?
We're processing it. We haven't
It's
heard this
morphine
word
in
in
our
20
head.
years. We're
The
soaking
word,
it up.
I don't know. They had some sort of embolism they kept referring to.
I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
Like
It's like- it was like a
psychotic
schizo-
embolism or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
like a
schizoembolism.
schizoembolism.
Yeah, that's what I just had now. Hearing you say sleazy over and over.
Sleazy.
Careful, we may have to give you a lobotomy.
Slut and easy.
They kept saying that like that was a bad thing, but that just means brain surgery.
No, it doesn't.
Schizoembolism?
No, lobotomy
No,
means
lobotomy is
like
they
removing
separate-
part of your brain,
Yeah.
right?
They remove the frontal cortex so that way then
Oh.
or they like separate the lobes.
Oh.
It fucks
Look
you
at
up.
you, aren't
usually-
you smart?
I am. I know
She's
some
smart as Arnold
knowledge.
Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, she is. Yeah,
Hasn't
she is.
been lobotomized.
Wait.
See,
Have I
I
been?
requested this in my dream is that I would be smarter than everyone else.
Oh, I see.
And then I would be hanging out with a lot of sleazy people. doing a
One of those
podcast.
things like shock therapy that they used to believe was the only way to cure certain things. And yeah, not done so much anymore today.
Yeah.
Brett, is it still good? Is it enjoyable?
This movie, I mean, I can't weigh it properly because there's so many happy memories with this movie. But I feel like it was still like enjoyable, even if I hadn't seen it before. Anything with Arnold is kind of like, it's going to be funnier than it needs to be, even if it's trying to be a serious action film. And I kind of feel like that's what they were doing with this. Is like they're like it's kind of serious, but then like
They could see the humor.
screw you and like
They
all
knew
that
which
shit.
way the wind shines.
Exactly. Like they knew who they were hiring.
I
as
wonder
their-
how
as their
many of
star.
those like weren't in the script though, and Arnold just like threw them in.
Honestly,
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like I want to say that a lot of those were either written in or he came up with them
Like
and
on
had
the spot.
someone
Yeah.
had a writer add it to the script.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think he wrote them, but I think at that point in his career, that's a requirement.
The one line.
Have you
This
guys-
is my appeal to the audience. You have to do stuff like this.
Have you guys seen the new Terminator?
Yeah,
I think it's terrible.
it's pretty bad.
It's horrible.
Aw.
But there's very much
Very sad.
like Schwarzenegger in that film is very similar to Schwarzenegger in Total Recall, not necessarily like in character, but like
doing the classic
the
Schwarzenegger
additional sort of jokiness. Even though he's supposed to be very serious, he's supposed to be the straight, strong guy. And by straight, I mean like non-comical. I don't mean heterosexual.
I mean, we all know that Schwarzenegger swings both ways. I mean, with Colin Farrell.
With Colin Farrell. It's a requirement.
Is there a link for that?
I can look it up
in the description below.
If you really need it, I can send it to you.
Oh God.
But
I think we need to handle that through your Twitter account.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to see a video of Colin Farrell is doing stuff, but I'm not going to do it. Fucking Google it.
Or you can go to Recall and have the memory implanted into your brain.
Yeah. It'll probably be better that way. That way you'll get fucked by Colin Farrell instead of just imagining or watching him do it to
really,
someone
really
else.
specific celebrity memories.
Oh.
So
It's like watching Tony Danza clip his toenails.
What?
That's what I want.
Oh.
my nails are getting too long, Angela.
Oh my God.
So I'm going to have to agree with you, Bret. I think there's way too much memory tied into this movie, ironically, that I just, the thing that I love is about to happen. Oh, he's going to pull the thing out of his nose. Oh, Robert Picardo is going to blow up in a taxi cab for absolutely no reason. Like all these little things, the get ready for a surprise in the 2 weeks, I'm just waiting for awesome stuff that I remember. So it's hard to say if I watch the movie right now, whether I would like it. I love it right now, but I can't answer that question.
But that's the point of the podcast. Answer the question,
I
Dodger.
can answer the question saying I love it. I loved watching it, but I can't tell you if I watch it for the first time right now if I'd love it.
Right.
I think you can love it. Like you can, like if this was your first time watching, you would love it in a sort of ironic way.
But does it live up to your childhood expectations though? I'm assuming you've seen this kind of not too long ago, but right? Or,
Yeah, I can't tell you when the last time I saw it was, but it doesn't disappoint. It's the thing that I loved and I still love it.
Okay.
Yeah. So what did you think, having never seen it, Ash?
I definitely enjoy it because I enjoy watching sort of cheesy movies. So I think it was a great ride. It was a funny ride. It was hilarious to watch.
You enjoyed the ride.
It was definitely a lot of fun. I really like I said, there's a lot of really good things I think going on in this movie. A lot of really good ideas. I do really like the world that they created, and I found it really interesting. And even like small little twists, like the cab driver turned out to be a mutant too, or whatever. I like this world that they created, and I did enjoy like seeing it, and I would like to see more of that world, but there's elements of cheesiness about it that definitely don't make it like a good movie in my opinion. But it's a fun one, I think, to watch with friends and like laugh at for fun.
I think it's really interesting what you say about the world building. I certainly haven't seen this movie since we started having serious conversations about colonizing Mars. Let's say we put colonists on Mars. At some point, they're going to want to have independence from whatever nation or company that put them there.
Right.
Absolutely, this is what would happen. Not necessarily the mutants, but,
And of course, air would be a problem. Like that's
Absolutely.
a legitimate.
You know what I just realized? Is that he says that aliens created the machines that helped.
Aliens build it.
Yeah, aliens built a machine that helped to kind of turn the atmosphere into Mars. On Mars into a more Earth-like atmosphere. What if the aliens he's talking about are past humans of like our time, and like the finger thing? Because
we had our memories erased.
Oh snap! Wait a minute.
Because like he put his human hand, on that alien thing that was that looked weird, and it worked.
Yeah, I love the. You can't operate that because it only has 4 fingers. Oh, but one of those fingers is clearly 2 fingers in size.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it just occurred to me that maybe there's more of a political kind of social theme.
I think you might be digging here.
No, because
you put a little too much depth into this movie.
Okay, this is what I'm trying to get at, is that
I don't think I agree.
Because it started out like the whole intent of
The cat disagrees.
the whole
Strongly.
intent of creating that machine to create an atmosphere throughout Mars was that way then everyone could have access to oxygen and be able to live on Mars. And then they said that the air was limited because it's one person. If you want air, you have to buy it from this one guy. So it's possible that there was a time where humans went to Mars with totally like sincere intentions on colonizing or whatever. And then they decided that like some guy managed to buy it out and build something where people thought that that was the only option, was paying this guy money to survive in this planet. And it's a very anti-capitalist.
So whoever set up the colony had the ability to turn the air on the whole time.
Yeah, but
they restricted it.
Like they got bought out by this guy or something. Yeah. He was like, yeah, sure, we'll do that. Just kidding. I'm going to capitalize on this and eat cornflakes for dinner. Yeah. Like a fucking psychopath.
That's everyone's dream.
I think that's more like a high school burnout.
If you're gonna eat cereal for dinner, it's gotta be like Fruit Loops. Or like Cocoa Puffs. It's not gonna be a shitty.
I mean, come on, he can afford it, right? Like he can go bigger than just cornflakes.
He can afford eggs and bacon.
You could put
if he wants
a sprinkle of
breakfast for
sugar
dinner.
on those cornflakes.
Did anyone else notice that the little psychic chest burster baby?
You mean Quato, the leader of the revolution?
Chest burster.
Open your mind.
He never actually told Arnold the stuff that he pulled from his brain. Are we to assume
he helped him to remember
that he remembered it? Because
yeah,
it's just kind of
what exactly did he help
that's
him
what
remember?
He would do.
He helped him remember that he had seen the reactor before he had his mind wiped.
Was he there?
Because
with
then
those
he had to
people?
give him like explicit instructions while he was dying on what to do.
He wasn't there in the scene, but I think we're led to believe that he knew about it.
And somehow he
before they wiped his
magically saw this scene that he wasn't a part of. He had this memory of the scene that he wasn't there for. That didn't really make any sense. I'm like totally with Bret on this. Does not make sense.
Speaking of weird stomach baby,
this is a weird time
This
to
is going
tell
to be a
Bret
really
you're
good
pregnant.
transition.
Open your mind, Brett. Open your mind.
To being a father.
I was like the cigarette smoking this little mutant baby thing too. He's like, open your mind.
Anyway, he totally reminded me of a cartoon villain that I cannot place. But
You mean?
Oh yeah, we were talking about it.
You mean Krang from Ninja Turtles?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
That was a Krang
Also,
situation.
did anybody notice he has Rick and Morty eyes?
Yes,
His
he
pupils are
did.
just little splotches.
Yeah, they weren't like round. I was assuming that maybe he had like cataracts or something. I don't know.
They put so much effort into creating this thing that they got to the eyes. And like any true artist said, oh, fuck it.
Yeah. Forget
But
it.
the way his mouth moved was surprisingly effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, the special effects in this movie are like,
Very
clearly
hidden.
special effects, but also like horrifying at the
Yeah.
same time because they're kind of stylized, and it's
So yeah,
It's
this
weird.
was Rob Bottin, who was, I think, kind of a disciple of Rick Baker. And this is interesting because I asked, what did Rob Bottin do that we saw recently? And you were saying American Werewolf in London, but I looked it up and that was all Rick Baker.
yeah.
So we're recording these podcasts a little out of order. If in the podcast on American Werewolf in London, if I say Rob Bottin, that's not accurate. Rick Baker.
No, I think you said Rick Baker, and then we went on.
Got
to
off on a
talk.
tangent on Rob.
Yeah.
Because he's done some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he did RoboCop, he did Fight Club. Rob Bottin does some really cool stuff.
Those were the two I recognized as well.
Yeah.
also the product placement, just really quick, but the product placement in this movie was like ridiculous.
Sharper.
That's funny.
image.
Why are they advertising for
Pepsi.
film?
They
Evian in the
advertise
future?
for all this stuff that no one would give a shit about in 10 years. Sharper
Yeah.
image, Jack in the
Fuji
Box,
film
and
was
Pepsi.
funny.
And Evian.
Evian.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of those things are relevant. Now,
Pepsi and Evian are not
I mean,
relevant.
like, okay, compared to like Smart Water and Coca-Cola. Like Pepsi was really big back when this movie was being made, and it didn't sustain.
There was a Coke ad in there with their old logo, which
Mhm.
I noticed immediately.
They really could have, I don't know. It was an interesting decision to not invest any creative energy into trying to think
predicting the future.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, like, because, like, compared to, like, Back to the Future, too. You know, it was I think that was 5 years
Pizza Hut,
earlier.
Nike and all that stuff.
Or
But it
like
was
that other movie
stylized.
where Taco Bell is all restaurants. You know what one?
I don't know. Was
shit.
that
I want to say Time Cop.
Time Cop.
No, it's not Time Cop.
Demolition Man?
Idiocracy?
No,
Yeah.
it's not Idiocracy. It's another one of these.
Not Demolition Man?
And then the guy that he's like he's frozen, and then they unfreeze him in the future.
Yeah, sounds
Is
like
it
Demolition
Mr.
Man.
Freeze from Batman? It was
Han
an Arnold
Solo.
Schwarzenegger movie. I mean, it was really good.
So I do want to point out how ridiculous it is to imagine Arnold Schwarzenegger going by the name Doug.
Ugh.
Like,
My name is Doug.
yeah, like who looked at Arnold Schwarzenegger and said, Doug?
My name is.
Maybe that was the point. It was the point that the name didn't fit him because that wasn't really who he was.
Was that his real name, though? Or
Well, it
was that,
depends
like,
on whether you think
the fake name? Because he had two different names.
Did you notice how
I could buy
everyone
Hauser.
they called him by his last name because it made more sense.
Oh, which
Okay,
occurred
but
to me.
also Arnold Schwarzenegger's first name is Arnold, and he doesn't really look like an Arnold. He looks like a Schwarzenegger,
You know, and
but not an Arnold.
this is a good game. Like, think of all of the celebrity movie stars that you love and think of their first name. Like Brad Pitt, that guy's name is Brad. Brad Pitt is
Sylvester
walking around.
Stallone.
Yeah. That dude's name is Sylvester. He is walking around this world and his name is Sylvester. And people need to call him Sylvester. That's ridiculous. There's not a single movie star that you know of when you think of their first name and only their first name. It's not ridiculous.
Clint Eastwood.
Clint.
That's a
How's
very
it going,
strong
Clint?
name, though.
I had a boss named Clint. Once.
I have an uncle named
He
Clint.
also had a boss named Cheeto.
Yep.
Cheeto?
Cheeto.
Was he a stripper?
He just insisted on people calling him Cheeto, and it was on his name tag. And I don't think it was.
That was okay. Well, if it's not his real name, it doesn't. I guess it kind of counts, but it makes me angry that he made people call him Cheeto.
Did he really like Cheetos a lot? Like, would he carry them around?
Did he have a slightly orange tinge all the time?
He like did the frosted tips, but orange.
Was he like from the Jersey Shore?
So
Anyway.
it occurs to me that the so it occurs to me that the schizoid embolism thing that in this movie happened to Doug Quaid might actually explain what happened in real life to Randy Quaid. Maybe he had a schizoid embolism and now he's like remembering his former life as a secret spy, and that explains
Who's Randy Quaid?
Dennis
Dennis
Quaid's
Quaid's
brother,
brother.
who is now like he's on the run in Canada because Hillary Clinton has sent the CIA after him.
Wait,
I
what?
missed that
What?
part.
I don't know what you're talking about at all.
Look up Randy Quaid's recent YouTube videos.
Oh,
Randy
boy.
Quaid he's suffered a schizoid embolism. Like he's gone seriously off the deep end, and his wife is completely on board with all of it. Yeah. Oh, it's
Quaid
entertaining.
Conspiracy, Vanity Fair 2011.
Yeah, look it up. Randy Quaid. He's hilarious.
I think I remember this.
I think he legitimately believes he saved us from aliens on Independence Day.
What?
Yeah, they have like, they're extremely paranoid.
He got
and his
really,
wife.
really high
And
and
his
watched the
wife.
movie.
What if he really did? You don't know.
Scientology.
Pretty sure that was a documentary.
So
All right, Bryce, what did you think of Total Recall?
It was enjoyable.
All right, so thanks for joining us for Total Recall. Talia, where can people find more of your online scribblings?
You can find me on Twitter at it's a Talia, ITSA_TALAA, or on Tumblr, Talia Bobalia. And if you find me on either of those, you can find all my other stuff for other places.
And though those things might be a little hard to figure out how to spell, we'll put those in the show notes.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for joining us for Let's Rewatch and Total Recall.
also don't forget that this podcast is part of the Laugh Stash TV network, and we are a YouTube channel, and we also are going to have Talia on our show Let's Drink, and it's hilarious. We get drunk.
We get extremely drunk.
Super
Very,
drunk.
very drunk.
There might be like 10 minutes of Talia just laughing hysterically because she had whatever you call it.
Had a breakdown.
She thought that she saved us from aliens during the show. But
Schizoid embolism.
Schizoid embolism. There you go. But we have other fun, nerdy type videos. We do parody, like video game type parodies. We have a Plants vs. Zombie video that's about to hit 1 million views. Woo! And other fun stuff. We have a cooking show called The Hunger Games and much more. So please check us out. You can follow us on Twitter at LaughStashTV. And you can find us on YouTube if you just search /TV.
Yeah, and you can find me, Bret, at bread_Eagles on Twitter. It's the food and the bird.
Feeding the bird, the Bread Eagles. And I'm Ash's Stash on Twitter.
All right. Thank you for joining us for Total Recall on Let's Rewatch.
All right. Next week, we're going to watch Mac and Me.
Yes.